From one game right into the sequel. Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Play Gargoyle's Quest 2, The Demon Darkness. Fun little personal fact, if I recall, this was actually the first Gargoyle's Quest I was made aware of, purely through seeing this title screen somewhere. Either way, let's get right on in and start a new game. A long, long time ago, before a human being appeared, there lived a monster named Firebrand in a town of the Ghoul Realm, Etruria. To become a true warrior, Firebrand trained himself in the Warriors Training Center every day. But one day... Welcome, Firebrand. Here's the Spectre's fingernail. You'll have the honor of receiving this when recognized as a true warrior. It's time for you to go to the Warriors Training Center. Okay, and we're right on into the overworld map style. Strangers have been wandering around here recently. You need to become a true warrior as soon as possible, Firebrand. Firebrand, make sure to complete your mission. Do not disappoint King Morok. First notable difference, Firebrand moves so much faster on the overworld areas. Once people leave this town, they never come back. I wonder what happens to them. Well, either they find a nice home and settle down, or they get absolutely murdered. Hopefully the former. So many brave warriors have come out from this town. Be the next one, Firebrand. Okay. Firebrand, once you give up becoming a warrior, don't waste your time. Give up. Well, geez, you're a Debbie Downer. Either way, notable, obviously, right from the start, the town sections in Gargoyle's Quest 2 are actually a lot more fleshed out. I'm not going to talk to this guy, but you can buy maelstroms from that guy. Maelstroms are this game's talismans of the Cyclone, the extra lives. I've often seen strangers hanging around outside. Who on earth are they? Like with Gargoyle's Quest 1, the price for extra lives will increase as we go through the game, but I think this time around it caps off at 20. Think is a keyword, because honestly past a certain point, I don't need to buy any. Now, that one guy was blocking my path, so I have to go over here first. There's a Warriors Training Center in this town. It's also right next to him. I had to jump cut over here because that guy was just being annoying. This is Etruria, where King Morok rules. Firebrand, you're just a trainee. You're not allowed to leave this town, unless you become a true warrior. In the early game, I'm going to be trying to talk to as many people as possible because they often give decent hints this time around. But later on, I'm just going to be flat out ignoring some townspeople because they're either too far out of the way or they say basically nothing of worth. Either way, the training center is right here, as you can tell, because it's the one other building that's not a single block size. Hi, Firebrand. You can go to the training center through the room on your right. Why, thank you, guy. Do I really want to be a true warrior? The training here is too hard for me, which is kind of sad. They say the Argo's pot can be exchanged for the Spectre's fingernail. Well, I better get that pot then. Wink. You can go to the training center through the center of this room. Bring back the pot from there. Basically, our goal's a vial. And this is your tutorial sequence. Firebrand controls very similarly to the first Gargoyle's Quest, though I feel that his walking speed is either a bit slower, or it's just slower compared to the size of the levels and screen ratio, screen-to-sprite size ratio, because obviously the screen's a lot bigger. Firebrand starts off with a bit more life this time around, 3 instead of 2. But his wings are honestly a bit weaker. I can't honestly tell if they are, though. And we actually have our lives on screen this time around. Either way, it's just to get you used to movement so you can grab the pot there. I'm not sure if that actually counts as vials, though. I'm glad to see you're safe, Firebrand. The black light appeared suddenly and... Hurry, to the king! Hurry! I was gone for not even a minute, guys. Come on! Either way, leaving the training center now puts us in our first real level. And honestly, it's nothing special. You're going to be a lot of intro difficulty enemies here just because they want you to still be getting used to the controls and such. But learn to love the wall cling in this game. That right there is vials. Like last time, they're often found in the levels and you can use them to buy extra lives. However, this time around, they're a bit different. For the most part, you're not getting a singular one for every single one of those as far as I can recall. I think you're getting more like somewhere between 3 and 6. I know all the ones you can find in the overworld later are all in the multiple levels of 6, so I'm assuming it's going to be like that. And also notable is that there's actually some incentive to explore the levels to an extent this time around, because you can actually find maelstroms in levels fairly often this time around. None in this level, but just get used to exploring a bit more. But also, be a bit more on your best defense this time around, because unlike last game, if you get a game over in a stage, you're sent back to the title screen, technically. There's a password option on the continue screen that will send you back to the last person you got a password from, which is why I recommend you get a password in every opportunity you can. But that can still be a decent amount of time lost. And that's no good, and I'm saying that a lot recently. What the hell? Starting off, Firebrand only does have his basic fire attack once again, but it's honestly a bit more useful this time around because while you can still only have one on the screen at a time, it travels at a much more brisk pace, so you can actually have a decent, a higher chance of survival because of that, or at least a higher chance of damaging an enemy. Notable in this game, though, is that there are actually some hidden power-ups in some levels. Like over here, we have a slightly different colored pot, which increases our life by 1 heart. As far as I'm aware, this is permanent, but I don't like to test it. There's more than one of these in the game, but I can only recall 2 of them off the top of my head. One here and one in the final level. So if there's any more of these that I'm not aware of, inform me of them, please, because I'd actually like to know that. Because one thing that I don't like about Gargoyle's Quest 1 and 2 is that if you get everything, you don't really get anything, you know what I mean? It's not like Metroid where you get a slightly different ending image or something. Or Demon's Crest especially, where you get extra stuff especially. No, here you just outright get nothing. But you know, NES game, I shouldn't expect anything too much, but still. Now, notable, I am playing the NES version here. Why am I saying that? Well, because in Japan, there was a re-release of this game on the Game Boy that had extra stages. But I'll get more into that when that's more prevalent. Either way, the first boss is Nagus, and he is really, really easy. Notable, don't spam the button like I am. Actually pace it out a little bit, because then you can just get past the iframes a bit more. This is all he does, though. He likes to jump all over the place, shooting some spread shots. He goes down really quickly. Also, weird little quirk about this game. When you beat the boss, it's not an instant stage over. You have to go through the door in the room. King Morak, are you alright, sir? Firebrands. I'm gonna die. Take the Spectre's fingernail with you. And we get the Spectre's fingernail. Like in the first game, fingernails increase our jump height. An incredible power is built in Firebrand's body. Now Firebrand can jump higher than before. Go west, Firebrand. You'll find a town called Gibeah. What King Bar rules. Gah! Would it be Gibeah or Gibeah? Either way, we're done here in Etruria. We never need to come back here because everyone we knew and loved is dead. So let's just leave this depression behind and move on. And now we're in the world map. However, you're going to notice something very different. There's no random battles, because we would have ran into like 3 at this point in the original. They got rid of them, and honestly, I don't miss them. Because, while that's some cool enemy ideas that they left out of, those random battles were a real pace breaker. You must be from the ghoul realm. Every now and then you will still find ghouls you have to fight on the world map, though, like this. More often than not, though, these are usually just one-and-done type of deals, and they usually contain very easy enemies. There are still vials on the world map, as you saw, and I believe they all contain 6 vials, so that's really handy, actually. And we obtained 3 vials from beating that fight. There are other ways to grind vials, though, but first off, we have a broken bridge. Similarly to the first Gargoyle's Quest, every now and then you'll come across a bridge you have to cross, which is a mini platforming sequence. For the most part, these are all fairly simple, except for 2 of them, which are pretty annoying. In fact, Gargoyle's Quest 2 is a much harder game than Gargoyle's Quest 1. And for new players, Gargoyle's Quest 1 was already a pretty hard game as it was, so this game can be really challenging. Gargoyle's Quest 3, I think, the Demon's Crest technically, I think has the best difficulty curve in the series. It's still hard, but it's like fun, challenging kind of hard, you know? Whereas this can kind of just seem stupid at times. Either way, here's Gibeah. This is Gibeah. This town was once ruled by King Bar, but... oh god, that's foreboding. What happened to my country during my absence? What a mess! There are a lot of buildings in the villages that are just plain empty, by the way. The black light came over this town, and though I was struck by the light, the power of Maelstrom brought me back. But Look at my ugly face! You're a zombie. You've always been ugly. Whenever you see a room like this, it's generally going to be one that has a Maelstrom guy in it, by the way. Just going to say that outright. But yeah, in a lot of the villages in this game, there are just purely empty houses. And the reason for that, as far as I'm aware, is because they use those house datas elsewhere. But you just have to wonder why they put them there, because if you just have a house like this, that's purely empty, then what's the point of it other than, I guess, indicating that people live here? I don't know. Also, this game's soundtrack is fantastic. I think the first game had the better soundtrack on the whole, but this is really good stuff here. Especially in the actual platforming stages. The King's Palace, capital of the Ghoul Realm, is to the west of this town. But you have to break the barrier of King Bar to get there. I see what they did there. Bar has a barrier. Whoa. What a pity. We could not protect King Bar from the enemy. Well, that means you're just bad soldiers. Watch out. The strength is beyond your imagination. And then he died. Yeah, an interesting little thing that they brought the black light back for the sequel. Something that was only mentioned like once or twice in the original Gargoyle's quest. Mind you, there's a reason for that we'll talk about later on. Also, in here is our first password hut. I recommend talking to every password guy in the game if you're playing it casually. Why? Because it's basically your continue point if you game over. Passwords are a bit long in this game, but thankfully they're not Metroid long, because god, 24 characters or more is just really bad. Well, that's the king. Let's talk to the people around him first. King Bar's magic was sealed. You should have come a little earlier. Magic was sealed. That sounds pretty familiar from the first game, don't it? There's a guy whose name is Samuel in the town Sidon, which lies northeast of this place. He may know how to release King Bar's magic again. But you'll have to go through the River of Flames in Arnon to get there. Sidon? Oh boy, let's go find ourselves a shark prince. Either way, now I can progress on. Honestly, I'm not sure if you can just outright skip the plot here and just move on. Because I know you can do that with a few places. You can just skip going into some towns and go on to the next stage. You can progress just fine. In fact, that's what the speedrun for this game does. Which, well, let's put it like this. The speedrun at SGDQ, I think it was 2016, is done in about 2 parts for us. Are you gonna cross the River of Flame? Are you sure? Yeah. You're very brave. Take this dragon's armor with you. It'll help you. And we get the dragon's armor, which, like in the previous game, increases our vitality, so now we have a total of 5 health. So that's nice and dandy. But since we have the Spectre's Figure now, we can also jump this high up, so that's pretty useful. I think we did that in one of the previous ones. Also, I hate this part of the level. These green platforms are going to be showing up for the next 3 or so stages, I want to say. And they are very annoying because, first off, things like this can happen. But also, just because they move a bit too fast for you to get on them reliably. Plus, some of the jumps you have to make from them are incredibly specific. Gargoyle's Quest 2 is a good game, but it has its share of design flaws. Thankfully, a few of them aside are in the early game. No, a few of them aside, most of them are in the early game, rather. But we're still going to be seeing a good amount of them throughout the entire adventure. This is Sidon. Cool. They say a Venus of the night called Hecate fell from the sky a long time ago. She was looking for some materials. The name of the materials was... let me see... the Night Drop. Can you tell this game's translation still isn't good? Go north through the cave, and you'll see the desert called Situm. Why, thank you. Go to the east of this town is a forest called Hinam. They say there's a precious stone called the Night Drop in the forest. Okay, well we know where that is now. They say that the Magic Buster can break rocks and the Magic Tornado enables you to fly anywhere. Well, those sound pretty darn useful. I'm Samuel. What? King's Bar's magic was sealed? The Gremlin Stick may be of help to you. Oh, go to the Cave of Gaza to the north of this place. And see Hecate. She must know something about it. We could do that, but if you just head north to where Hecate is, She won't respond to us unless we have that night drop. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we'll be heading after that night drop so she'll actually respond to us when we try to talk to her. See you guys then.